Console. Check. Check. Can you hear it on the speaker on the
Welcome and good morning, everyone. I am Katie Cartman, the Director of Religious Education here at Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church in Houston, Texas. Our beloved community of faith, reason, and affection welcomes all to grow in mind and spirit as together we build a better world. If you are joining us for the first time this morning, we extend a special welcome to you and invite you to fill out our visitor card, a yellow card in the pews or a link on the YouTube, so you can receive more information about Emerson and our activities. Again, welcome to all. We are a church in many places, some of us here in the pews, and some joining us on YouTube from home or wherever we might be. And our world is a different one than it was in early 2020. Our worship service has changed accordingly. We're giving people choices in the pews as to distancing and whether or not they'd like to continue masking. We've put a few offering baskets at the front and back of the sanctuary for people to drop off their offering throughout the service rather than passing the plates. For those of us in the sanctuary this morning, let's take a moment to picture the dozens of friends, neighbors, and those we've not met yet who are taking part in this service on YouTube, either right now or later in the week as their schedules allow. Please do take a moment to silence your cell phone. If you'd like to tweet your favorite part, go for it, but we don't want those ringtones and beeps to disturb the whole room. Following the worship service, folks in the pews may head out to the gathering place or perhaps head out to the courtyard, well, maybe not the courtyard and the playground today, to chat. And we'll also have social time on Zoom hosted by Emersonian Marilyn Rambo, a chance for all of us to gather in smaller groups to discuss the service and what's going on in our lives. We also will have a couple special events happening today, because thanks to the good work of Emerson's Ministerial Search Committee, we are so excited today to welcome the Reverend Ed Proulx. There will be so many chances to get to meet him and his wife Francine throughout this week. I hope you take part in those as you are able. And now let's get to our prelude.
Good morning. Fan club. I'd just like to take a minute to go off script just for a second and just say how wonderful it is to be here and how wonderful it is to see all of you here this morning. It is great to be here. And I know that a lot of you came out despite the weather. So I just want to say I appreciate that as well. And if you are new here today, you are here, you happen to walk in today on a special day. And what I tell folks when they come into a UU church is you have to come back 7 times Our services change so much from week to week to week that what I would hate is for you to make a determination on whether this place fits into your spiritual journey on just 1 week. So come back 7 times, and today is no exception to that, as today is a different and special day. My friends, as we work to create beloved community, we welcome all who would join us in building a better world with more love, more justice, and more peace. We welcome all who would join us in growing in mind, growing in heart, and growing in spirit. We welcome all who would join us in tearing down the systems of oppression of all kinds, and we welcome all who would join us, who would join their purposes to ours in a loving spirit of right relationship. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever pronouns you use, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here, and you belong here with us at Emerson. And now I invite Julia to deliver our opening words.
Our opening words this morning come from the English author and social critic and Unitarian Charles Dickens, who lived his whole life in Victorian England. He says, "Remember, it is Christianity to do good always, even to those who do evil to us. It is Christianity to love our neighbors as ourselves, and to do to all men as we would have them do to us. It is Christianity to be gentle, merciful, and forgiving, and to keep those qualities quiet in our own hearts, and never make a boast of them, or of our prayers, or of our love of God, but always to show that we love him by humbly trying to do right in everything. If we do this, and remember the life and lessons of our Lord Jesus Christ, and to try to act up to them, we may confidently hope that God will forgive our sins and mistakes and enable us to live and die in peace." I now invite Reverend Ed to do the chalice lighting.
As we gather in community, we look within ourselves, to each other, for strength, restoration, and inspiration, so that as we journey together, we catch the spark of the eternal Spirit, and from that spark, we light our chalice flame. Lighting the chalice flame symbolizes to all that the spirit of this congregation is strong, and that our will to transform ourselves and the world is also strong. We light the flame with gratitude. We light the flame in memory of all who have gone before, in honor of all who are here now, and with joy for all who are yet to come. As you've probably guessed, my friend Ruth will light our chalice this morning. And I invite all of you who are joining from home. I don't know where the camera is, so I'm sort of trying to say hi to the people on the camera. They're up there. Okay, I'm getting the finger. Okay. Hello, people at home. I invite you to light a candle or a chalice of your own as we light ours here today. Our chalice lighting words this month come from Mexican author Don Miguel Ruiz, who was born in 1952. The youngest of 13 children, and is best known for his book, The Four Agreements, which is based on ancient Toltec teaching learned from his mother. Please, and I think we have the words. We do. Please read with me as you feel appropriate. Changing the world is not about changing the secondary characters of your story. And now I invite you to join us in singing along with our first hymn. You may stand or you may stay seated, however you feel best. And our first hymn this morning is number 317, We Are Not Our Own. So this is the part of our service where we have folks who would like to come up and hear a story come up. Now, I'm still a little new around here, so I don't know how we do this. Is anyone going to come up here? Story? No? No one's going to come up here? Well, you're getting a story anyway, and I'm just going to pretend there's a bunch of people here. How about that? So our story this morning comes from the Christian scriptures of the found in the Gospel of Luke, but a similar story has been found throughout history. So the children are gone. They're here. They're just not coming. Oh, they don't come forward. I got you. Okay. We'll work on the details later. So there's a story called the Good Samaritan. And the Good Samaritan is a story we all know, right? It's a very simple story. A man is on a long walk between two cities on a long road, and he meets up with some bad events on his way. And he ends up hurt, unable to move on the side of the road. Along comes a priest from the local religion. And the priest makes a choice. And the choice he makes, you all know the choice he makes is to ignore the man. He looks at the man and he says, I don't want to get involved in all that. I'm just going to keep on motoring right past. Didn't see it. Nope, wasn't there. And he just keeps motoring past. A second man comes along, another priest, different kind of priest. Second man comes along, sees the man on the side of the road, unable to take care of himself, and he makes the same choice that the first priest made. The choice he made was to ignore the man. I'm just going to walk right past the man. I don't want to get involved. We've all heard that before, right? I don't want to get involved. So he doesn't get involved, and he keeps right on going. Now, a third man comes along, and that third man is from a group of people called the Samaritans. Now, the people who wrote the Bible picked the Samaritans on purpose, because the Samaritans were this sort of break-off group. They were the bad guys. They were the guys that didn't do religion right. They did it all wrong. Now, Jesus chose the group, the Samaritan, for this guy to come from because this guy walks along the same road that the two priests had walked along, and he sees this same man sitting there, unable to take care of himself, and he takes care of the man. He picks him up, he brings him to an inn, he pays the inn to take care of him for a certain number of days and says, listen, if you need more money, I'll come back. So this is often told as the story of, you see, it's often told as a story of these people over there that we don't like, they're okay too, right? That's often the theme of this story. But I think the real theme of this story is each one of those three people, regardless of what group they came from, they all made a choice, didn't they? And they all acted, the first two acted in their best interest. And the second one, because the second one clearly had some place to go too. They clearly had the same risk of getting involved, but the third one made the choice to support the man who needed support. So that's our story from today. Our story for today is about making choices, which is what we're talking about today in our service. And now we do something else. What do we do? I'm sure we do something else.
Just imagine every tradition that this church has done over 60 some odd years, and you get plopped into the middle of it. It's kind of a lot to learn. Giving out of what is our own is a transformative act. As a community of faith, we collect an offering, not for ourselves or our congregation, but to give to others, as a collective action of our community and as a way to live out our shared values. Please give with a generous heart to support our April Share the Plate recipient, The Amazing Place. This local 501c3 organization works with churches and healthcare communities to train and empower individuals about dementia, Alzheimer's, and caregiving. And the remaining 25% of our offering goes to our ongoing commitment to Interfaith Ministries' Meals on Wheels, feeding Houston seniors. We have 3 ways to give. You can go to our webpage for online giving, or you can put your offering in our baskets, or mail a check to the church. Sean?
We invite you now to find a comfortable place to be in your seats, or maybe with your feet flat on the floor, so that you might feel the vibration of this building, feel the vibration of this earth that we are all on. Feel the connection. Feel free to close your eyes, take in a deep breath, as together we enter into a time of meditation, silence, and stillness. Stillness of the body, stillness of the mind, and stillness of the spirit. Let us be silent together. Amen. Thank you, and blessed be. I now invite Julia to deliver a reading.
This reading is from American rapper Tupac Shakur from his 1999 posthumous book of poetry, The Rose That Grew from Concrete. If I had an ear to confide in, I would cry among my treasured friends. But who do you know that stops that long to help another carry on? The world moves fast, and it would rather pass you by than to stop and see what makes you cry.
Okay. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to challenge you a little bit. I'm going to challenge you to rethink the golden rule. Before we get directly to the golden rule, let's talk about another couple rules that could maybe use an upgrade. Maybe didn't stand the test of time, like that avocado refrigerator you bought that you thought would last forever, or that brown shag carpet. Remember that? Still look good, still fine, but maybe could use a slight upgrade. Let's talk about a couple of these rules that we use. If it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's a duck. Unless it's a goose. Right? These are simplification. These rules tend to be overly simplified. The customer is always right. Yes, you and I are fallible beings who make mistakes through our lives all the time, unless we happen to be buying something. And in that case, we are never wrong. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Nietzsche, right? Little dose of Nietzsche in the morning, never hurt anybody. But I think that Nietzsche was wrong. I think that what doesn't kill you makes other people stronger. Because you are never doing that again. You were just going to avoid whatever that was. But other people saw what happened to you and they said, I'm going to do something a little bit different. And my favorite, a watch pot never boils. Sure. Because we all do this, right? We all set the timer for the pot to boil, and then we say, but wait, I have to leave the room. I should add more time to the timer because I'm going to leave the room. We don't do that, do we? So there's something true there about patience, and there's something false there about the boiling of the water. Each one of these has something true about them. They're true enough that they're useful, but there's also something that's not quite right about each one of them. Now let's get into the golden rule. This one is so important, we gave it a medal. And I believe it is important. I do think it is important. Do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Why not? In philosophy, they call it the maxim or the rule of reciprocity because there's a reciprocal action going on there, right? I am doing unto you as I think that, as I would like you to do unto me. So you can see the reciprocal there. Every religion has them. Every religion has them. In religion, they generally come in three forms. So I'm going to give you the forms first so you can hear them. There's a positive or a direct form. The positive or the direct form is just like the golden rule I just read. Treat others as you would like others to treat you. Positive, direct form. There is also a negative or prohibitive form. Do not treat others in a way that you would not like to be treated yourself. This is a negative form that shows up in religion. I actually find that one easier to do, right? Avoid doing bad things is easier than trying to guess. And then the third one is empathetic or responsive form, and it says, what you wish upon others, you wish upon yourself. There's a little more spirit in that one. There's a little more wishing. There's a little more depth in that one. So let me go through some of the religions that have rules like this. Jainism, the first one I put on the list, Jainism, because I think Jainism is basically that's what Jainism is how to live out the golden rule. The whole religion of Jainism is basically living out the golden rule. It's absolutely central, for sure. There are stories in ancient Egypt about, there's a story called the eloquent peasant, which is the Good Samaritan story is derived from. That's about 4,000 years old. There's stories from ancient India in the Mahabharata, in an ancient epic of India. And this story says, in brief, doing well to others, everything else is succumbing to desire. There's the Tamil. There's the 32nd chapter of the book of Virtue. There's ancient Greece. There's 3, interestingly, in ancient Greece. Avoid doing what you would blame. I love this one. Avoid doing what you would blame others for doing. That sounds, okay, I can get my arms around that one, right? Zoroastrianism has it. In ancient Rome, Seneca, the Stoic, Seneca the Younger, said, treat your inferior as you would wish your superior to treat you. Judaism has it in the book of Leviticus. It's also in the Babylonian Talmud. Christianity has it, Jesus says it 3 times, in case you didn't catch it the first 2, including on the Sermon on the Mount and the Great Commandment, and also in the Jewish books of Tobit and Sirach, and St. Paul talks about it. Islam has it, not in the Quran, but in the Hadith. Baha'i has it several times in their writings. Buddhism, several times. Sikhism, Confucianism, Taoism, Wicca in the Book of Ways, Yoruba or Dhyani, and you could also make the case that voodoo has this in its religion. So, let me ask you a question. Reverend Ed, you're asking us to reconsider the golden rule. Why bother telling us all the religions that have the golden rule in it? It seems like you're making a case for the golden rule, but that would not be true. It is a good rule, isn't it? It is certainly better than the rule that says, do whatever you want to do it. Right? It is certainly better than that. There is some moralism in it, and there is some thought about what you should do and your effect of people. But here's the big problem with the golden rule. There is a misplaced agency in the golden rule. I do what I think you want based on what I want. Where are you in this equation? You're not part of the equation, are you? You're just receiving whatever it is I choose to do. Let me tell you a quick little story. Someone once brought me a cup of coffee. This is years ago. Lovely woman. She was trying to do the right. This is before I was a minister. She brought me a cup of coffee, and boy, I took one sip of it, and I went, whoa. It was full of cream and sugar. I hate milk, and I don't like sugar. I drink my coffee black. So, this was a wonderful gesture, right? I wondered to myself, this was my first experience with feeling this, right? Because she was doing the golden rule. He drinks coffee, I'm going to bring him a cup of coffee. It was a wonderful thing for her to do. I love the fact that she did it. She brought me this cup of coffee, and I sat there wondering to myself, did she bring this for me, or did she bring this for her? Right? Because if you wanted to bring it for me, you could have called and said, how do you take your coffee? But she didn't do that. What if instead of doing unto me what she would have wanted done unto herself, she had done unto me what I would have wanted done unto myself? What would that have looked like? And that, my friends, is called the platinum rule. And I didn't make that up. I did not make that up. The funny thing is, the first time I ever saw the platinum rule, it was in a sales book teaching sales technique. And I thought to myself, this is wonderful. I get the sales technique here, right? Don't do unto others as you. If you think of it from a sales perspective, it makes a lot of sense, right? do unto others what they would want done unto themselves, not do unto others what I would want done. So I thought about this cup of coffee, and what I did, because I loved the gesture, was I went and I dumped that milkshakey thing out, and I filled the cup with coffee, and I drank from that cup all day, because I wanted her to see that I was appreciative of the gesture, but I wasn't drinking whatever was in that cup. And she didn't have to know that. So we're talking about shifting the agency from the doer to the receiver. That's what the platinum rule asks you to do. It asks you to shift the agency from the doer to the receiver. And it is something, the reason why I mentioned all these religions is because it's something, this is pretty new. This is actually new. The book that I'm talking about was written in the 90s. And it seems like, as close as I can figure, it was the first time anyone had ever thought about it. What a wonderful thought. What a wonderful thought if we were to just say, what would you like? How easy is that to do? Now, there are some problems with the platinum rule. And I'm going to tell you what the problems with the platinum rule are right now. Because when I've delivered this sermon in the past, what has happened is people came up to me and said, you know, there are problems with the platinum rule. And I said, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tell you what the problems are right now so you can feel out the problems, okay? So the first problem is it makes the assumption that everybody knows what they want, which we all know is not true, right? We like to think we know what we want, but a lot of times we don't know what we want. It also makes the assumption that everybody wants what's good for them and for everyone else. So you do, when you're the actor, you do, of course, maintain agency in the acting, don't you? You still are the one doing the action. The third thing it assumes is that everyone is capable of agency. And we know that in any given moment, not everyone is capable of agency, and we have to make decisions for them. But if we were to roll the two rules together and create a golden rule, a platinum rule backed up by a golden rule, right? So your platinum rule is do unto others as they would want done unto them. And if that can't happen, at least do unto them as you would want done unto you. Now, we've got a nice package there, don't we? Isn't that a nice package of ways to look at the world? And why do I say this? Because our culture is based in large measure on usurping other people's agency, right? So this whole notion of, don't worry, I'll decide what's best for you and I'll do it, that's built into the culture. That's built into the way we're taught to act. This first step of saying, hey, what would you like? How would you like this to happen? This is a new step, and it is a countercultural step. It is asking you to do something that is countercultural. So it's hard to remember. It's hard to do, but it is so important. And even when we are doing this together, first choice, platinum rule, second choice, golden rule. And you know what? Some people say, what's your third choice? There isn't really a third choice. You stop there, right? We're just going to stop there. And my friends, let me say this to you. This is a lot of work, isn't it? This is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot easier to just say cream and sugar, isn't it? It's a lot of work, but that's what it means to be in community together. That's what it means to be in a relationship with other people. It means just a simple question. Just a simple question. Our fourth Unitarian Universalist principle calls on us to seek truth and meaning, not just to impose or assume my truth on someone else. Seeking truth and meaning, that's an easy principle, but it's a lot of work. And that's the challenge. And that's why you need to do this work in community. That's why each other is so important to Unitarian Universalism. And that's why it's so important to this congregation. I ask you folks, are you willing to take on this challenge? That was a question. Are you willing to take on this? Lots of blanks. Oh my God, what was he saying? What did he say? What did he say? I don't know what he said. Man, he talk a lot, man, this guy, no. Are we willing to take on this challenge? Yes. Are we willing to live by the platinum rule as much as we can? Yes. It needs a new title, I get that. That's a little corny. But I love the idea of allowing your agency to be your agency. And I think that's what strengthens our community. That's what will strengthen this congregation. And that is what will strengthen the world and do, as you say, bring more justice to the world, right? So with that, I invite you now to join us in singing our second hymn, a conspicuously chosen hymn, number 1017, Building a New Way. May you, my friends, in the course of your week be able to feel the liberating freedom of this religious path we share. May your gods welcome you. May they challenge you to live up your own expectations of yourself wherever and whatever they are. And may the world around you light up so that you may see your way back to clarity and wholeness and wonder. And now I invite you to enjoy our postlude.
I have some announcements. Are there others? Am I stepping on toes?
If you want to just
Read those.
yes. We did have an order, but it's fine. It's all good. It's all good. So first things first, social time will be here and on Zoom. And I will let Beth take over. Where did you go? Okay.
It's a great day when you get to eat dessert first, and today is a great day. We invite everyone to join us after the service for a light lunch, dessert first, to welcome Reverend Ed and his wife Francine. Our RE students are at work right now prepping Sundays. So after the talkback session, coming up shortly, we ask you to give Ed a little time to leave the sanctuary so he can visit with our students and our Sunday chefs. You'll have time to pick up your dessert in the gathering place and head to Westwood Hall to finish lunch and meet and greet with Ed. Please leave your name tags on during this time. After lunch, we will kick off our series of Get Acquainted sessions, beginning with lifelong religious education at about 1:15 and securing the future at 2:30. A complete list of this week's Get Acquainted sessions is on the Emerson website, and print copies are available near the poster in the gathering place. If you would like to attend any of these topic sessions online, please check your email box from Friday for our Zoom links. We will also have supervised time for the kids during these Get Acquainted sessions today. So, but first, announcements, and then talk back and dessert.
And just to elaborate on the talk back. So for those of you here this morning, Reverend Ed will host a talk back where people can share their ideas about today's service. And then following that, we will go, our children and youth are assembling a giant banana split. So, and then of course, what Beth said. All right, and last but not least, Dory.
Celebrate good times, come on. Okay, all right, good. So we want to announce that the 32 auction site is up. You could have been bidding on things during the service, but luckily no one did. But it's up. The first things you'll see, watch for ads, just ignore the ads. But the first thing you'll see is our amazing sponsors. We have over $10,000 worth of people that have sponsored, well, $10,000 worth of people, but. Okay, so that's great. So we have wonderful sponsors, and then we have an amazing selection of items so far. They can keep on coming, though, so keep watching, keep looking, because the last day to get those items in is May, I wrote it down, but May 4th. So get your items in and keep watching the site. We have excursions, gardening help, arts and crafts and how-tos, delicious edibles, games and drumming, parties. Oh, there's so much to do. So bid now, bid often, and if nothing tempts you, sponsor. We love our sponsors. Okay, and then there's other things I need to say. Okay. Actually, before you even see the sponsors, you will see admission, $10, $20 total to bring your whole family. So bring your extended family, great deal. And for that admission fee, you get dinner, drinks, all you can drink. I mean, it's gonna be a lovely time. And that will happen Saturday, May 6th, 2 Saturdays from now, on May 6th. Doors open at 5:30. Is that right? Yes. Doors open at 5:30, and we're celebrating. We have a lot to celebrate. You may have things to celebrate at home. Out there in the gathering place, there'll be stars. So while you're eating your ice cream, you can fill out a star for what you're celebrating, and we'll decorate the hall with Westwood Hall with those stars. And we could still use a few more volunteers for the night of and setting up the day before. So there's sign-up sheets out in the gathering place. And did I forget anything? Was there more? And I will repeat that. Beryl will kindly be out in the gathering place. She will help you get on to 32 auctions. It's very simple. And make sure you're ready. And she will also have the stars there. And so look for Beryl in the gathering place. Other questions or before? Okay, talk back time.
Actually, sorry, I got one add-on. Sorry about that. And then, yes, we will have talk-back time. Let's see. Great news. Emerson has a new heartbeat. Emerson is starting a drum circle class for beginners. So, and it'll be titled Drumming in the Spirit of Harmony, or DISH. So DISH is a drum circle that will explore the meditative aspects of playing percussive instruments together as a meditative focus. And all levels of participants are welcome, and drums will be provided. The first class will be Thursday, May 11th in the sanctuary at 7:30. And it will be run by our drum teacher, Craig Bertulia. Did I say that right? So, and of course, for more information, please check your e-blast or talk to Deborah or Craig after the service. Thank you. Okay, now it's over.
It is my understanding that you haven't done talkback in, I am told, decades. So I do this all the time. So this time I have an upper hand on you. So what we normally do during talkback is we just allow people to yabat the minister, or you know, what you said there made sense to me. I never thought of that, or I did think of that, or that was stupid, or whatever. It's a conversation continuing the sermon, okay? So we have Zena, who has a microphone. We have to keep in mind that the folks on Facebook need to hear us, so we're going to ask the questions into the microphone, and then I will respond. I may not answer you, but I will say something. I mean, so please excuse this annoying cough. I don't have any disease, it's allergies. So, would anybody like to start this? The behind you, Zena, over here.
Oh.
You know.
Okay.
Now, if I sit down, I disappear to everybody out back. Oh no, I'm good.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Lipp, and it's not a question, it's just more of a comment. That in some ways, the golden rule changed my life because of a twist on it, and that is do unto yourself as you would do unto others, because all of us love to help other people, but we have trouble sometimes helping ourselves. So it was my path to start loving myself.
Beautiful. Self-care is so important, right? Yeah, exactly. And you're not being held captive. If you want to leave, you can leave.
Hi,
Hi.
it's Bonnie Homeyer. I love the sermon with the sermon on, the Good Samaritan,
Yeah.
because the Good Samaritan was the reason why I chose my vocation, my career in nursing. My mother had a pin that she wore on her dress all the time when I was a little girl, and I learned in Sunday school that it was the story of the Good Samaritan, and I loved it, and I thought, oh, this is really, really nice to try and help others. And I wanted to say, Mom, I want to get a pin like that. She said, well, you can get one. You just have to become a nurse. I said, oh, okay. Well, then I learned I had not only to become a nurse, I had to go to the same school she went to. And I said, well, okay. And that happened. So the Good Samaritan is a very, very important story in my life. So thank you so much for that introduction into you and your ministry. But I loved the twist to my life career of it's not only what we want to do to others. But you've got to respect that maybe they don't want to get better, that they don't want, they need to feel the pain. We all need to recognize that there's the other side to our lives and to the lives of others. So thank you. Thank you.
In South Florida, there's a chain of hospitals called Good Samaritan Hospitals. Yeah. Any other talk? Well, this is going to be the quickest talk back in the history of time. Oh, there's ice cream. I see it now. I see it now.
Okay, I see a few people.
Nothing to do with, don't take it personally. There's ice cream.
I also, excuse me, I also appreciated your sermon today. You know, being a teacher and someone who works with a lot of different kids and children of all ages, I think hearing that idea of the platinum rule, I think stresses what I think in some circles in education is that dialogical like teaching, right? Where like, I think Paulo Freire, like he's a Brazilian educator, would always talk about how do you know what others want? You can't. And then you can only assume based from your background. And so like in order to have a more equitable and fair, I guess you would say, relationship, it requires dialogue, kind of what you're doing right now with the talk back time. You know, being able to hear what we want versus assuming that you know what we want.
And why would you assume cream and sugar? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Wouldn't you just bring it black with cream and sugar on the side or something? Like, it was just a weird thing. But it kicked me into that moment of thinking about, wait a minute, anyway.
I'm Jill Rose, and I just wanted to say that I appreciated what was, I think, maybe not altogether explicit, but the idea that we really need to listen to each other as well. And I think, you know, we make assumptions. I read a book not too long ago, of course I can't remember its name, by Mackenzie Scott, and the work that she started doing in Africa with women and so forth. And that was one of the first times I thought about, yes, pay attention to what other people need, what they are thinking, not just myself. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And you only have to guess what they need when they can't tell you, right? There's one in the back. Okay, yeah, we'll go forward then.
Yeah. I think she had her hand up first.
Hi, I'm Jackie Hunt, and I have a question for you. Did you happen to give this sermon in Augusta, Georgia?
No.
Well, someone else did.
Someone else?
My mother told me about the platinum rule, and it was the exact same.
Let me see. Augusta, Georgia. No. Mm-mm.
So the platinum rule is being spread.
It's all around North Carolina, South Carolina for sure, yeah. Come to think of it, I don't think I've done it in Florida yet. I'm trying to think if I've done this one in Florida, and I can't remember.
I'm Ian Sachs, and I think a talk back after a sermon is just a great idea. So thank you very much for doing this.
Well, so I love talkbacks. I love the continuation. I've gotten feedback after sermons that made me change the sermon. Because I thought, oh, I never thought of that, right? So one thing I don't assume is that, I mean, you guys are all smart, hardworking, wonderful people. You're going to take what I say and you're going to put it into your own color. And I love hearing back that, you know, what you said right there, that came across as mean to me because of, or whatever. And I had not considered it. So I love the talkback process. And I, you know, now it's unusual for everyone to stay. Usually there's like 15 people in the front row and we have a talkback about somebody who's, you know, people who got energized by the sermon or by the rest of the service. But it's great that you all stay. Well, yeah, if you boom, there you go. Got one person was listening. Check. There we go. Good.
Hi, Kat Jones. I just wanted to say I appreciate you taking us through how this concept appears in religions all over the world and all through history and the differences and similarities. I appreciated that. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome. Thank you. Zena's getting her steps in.
Hi, I'm Lane Devereaux. I noticed that you didn't wear your stole at the beginning of the service, but you put it on before the sermon, and I just wondered what that meant to you.
That meant I forgot to put it on before the beginning of the service. That's all that meant. But here's the interesting thing. Here's what you got to know. We left it at the hotel. So we got here, and my wife said, oh my God, we forgot the stole. So my wife had to go all the way back to get the stole. So I know that she's sitting there. When I saw it on the chair, I thought, I'm in trouble if I don't put the stole on right now. So it meant nothing. But thank you for pointing it out.
I am Hillary Ritz. Wow, that's loud. I was just going to say one of the other difficulties with applying the platinum rule is that some people are not comfortable with direct communication, right? Some people, there's direct communicators and indirect communicators. And the indirect people are the ones who will say, gosh, is it warm in here? Instead of saying, would you turn down the AC a little?
That's right.
And so it requires a little extra perseverance with the indirect communicators to get them to actually tell you what they want or how they feel.
Yes, yeah. So I'm from New England, where I'm used to being, like, you know where you stand with people from New England, right? They'll just tell you. But I lived 16 years in the South, so I've gotten that, bless my heart, yes. I've gotten that, well, it's actually 20 years if you include Florida. I've gotten that indirect form of communication. It took me a few years to get that indirect form of communication down pat. South Carolina, they have a saying, Mike could. I don't know if you know that. We might could do that. Might could, depending on how it's said, which is funny to Northerners, because might and could mean the same thing, right? But might could in South Carolina means either yes or ain't gonna, depending on how it's inflected. Yeah, we might could do that means, yeah, we're not doing that.
This is Deborah Woodring, and I just want to say, I thought, okay, golden rule, I've heard this before, it'll be great, yeah, whatever. But Ed, I just have to say, you just took this to a whole different way of thinking, and you just really stretched my brain, and I just wanted to thank you. That's really what I love about being a UU. Thanks.
I think being a UU is a lot of work, right? Because there's no answers. There's just more questions. So like what this does is it pivots it back, and you've got to now ask a question, right? So that's one of the reasons why I think Unitarian Universalism never took off, because it doesn't have answers. It doesn't have nice, canned, concise answers. If you do this and say this, this will happen. We don't have that, right? So we recognize that we are all works in progress. And no matter where you are on your path, you can hear things like this, and you get to choose whether you assimilate this into the way you are or not. And you're each doing that every time you hear a sermon, come to a church, hear a song on the radio, you're doing that. You can't stop that process. That's part of what it means to be human. And Unitarian Universalism recognizes that that's going on and says, okay, this is the truth of human nature. We're going to go with it, rather than saying, hang on, here are the answers to all these questions, right? Whatever the answers are, each religion has these canned answers, which may not make any sense to you. Sorry.
Hey, there's an unspoken corollary you didn't mention about not doing to people the things they don't want done to them.
Right.
And I lived in Mississippi for 6 years, so I feel I grew up in South Jersey, I feel your pain.
Oh.
Yeah, by the time I got there, I was a Marxist pagan living amongst Mississippians. And yeah. And I started my career as a librarian there and worked with the public and had to very much not proselytize. So there is that unspoken corollary.
Sure, yeah. In the South, they'll ask you, what church do you go to, right? They're being nice. They're not trying to drag you to their, they want to make sure that you love Jesus so that you get to go to heaven. They're being nice. It takes 5 or 6 years before that soaks in, and you're like, oh, you're being nice to me. Well, thank you very much. Because the first time I was ever asked, have you been saved? My answer was, from what? Like, I didn't know what they were talking about. I had no idea what she was talking about. And she took it as being rude and a smart ass. I was not. I was just asking, like, oh, from what?
Howdy, I'm David Bosserman. I like the platinum rule, I like the golden rule, but the only thing that concerns me about the platinum rule is what if what the other person wants is not reasonable?
Yes, sure. Right. So the second problem that I gave you was, what if what they want is good for them but not good for everyone else? Right. So you still are the actor. You're still the subject of the verb, whatever verb is being acted, and you have a responsibility to make sure that your actions are I'm a 7 generations kind of person. Like, I want it to be valid for 7 generations. So, so everybody in jail would say, well, if you're going to do unto me as I want done unto me, let me out of jail, right? That's what they would all ask, and that's not good for society, for everybody. Are we ruining ice cream too? Where's my ice cream monitor? We're still good. Okay. Oh, Zena, you're the ice. I was told, make sure the ice cream doesn't go soft. Yes, sir.
Hi, John Hammer. First, I loved the sermon. That was great. I got a lot out of that. I enjoyed that. What my comment was about was this talk back. I've been to services in a lot of UU churches, mostly smaller ones, and they've tried to do things like this, and there's a reason that in a small church it's recommended that they don't do this because they just go funny. So it's great to see how this is supposed to work, and I appreciate you bringing something new. Thank you.
So you're absolutely right. They can go sideways. Yes, they can, and I've had them go sideways, especially with visitors, right? And now the people in the church don't know what to do. They're all like, should I go talk to him? Should I go talk? It happens occasionally. Where are we? Oh, hey.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Trish. You had mentioned that there's so many different ways to interpret the Good Samaritan story, like not demonizing the other or making choices. And I think perhaps like another angle would be the need for community. So as he mentioned down there, someone can ask for something unreasonable, not because it's like a danger to society, but because you're not personally capable of meeting their needs. And so it's really nice to know that, like, I might be the person who has to walk past you because I can't personally help you. I don't know how, but there could be someone in my community who does. And so maybe it just behooves me to learn their names and, and like outsource this kindness.
Well, so the Samaritan did outsource it. He picked the guy up, he brought him to the inn, and he left him there and gave him money because he didn't have it. Now we're getting the ice cream.
One more.
One more, okay. In the back.
Yes. Oh, ice cream's ready. Okay. One more question?
One more question.
Or comment?
Yeah, thanks. Michael Bloom. Just wanted to, again, just echo the support for doing talkbacks. I'm in the engineering profession, and we do a lot of conferences, and there's podium talks without much Q&A at the end, and I always prefer panel discussion or a short podium talk with then a big workshop talkback kind of thing. So
yeah,
I support it. Thank you.
Great. Well, if the call happens, this is something we can easily work in. Yeah, great.
Ready for Sunday?
So I've heard we have ice cream.
Then y'all come. Yeah, let's let Reverend Ed leave and Francine too. And then y'all follow, because if you don't, the ice cream will melt.